computer. Good day today. This is AFlame Ministry, the show where we talk about all kinds of different things for all faiths, where we are talking about sharing the flame of God's love with all the joys and sometimes the challenges that brings. And today, my guest is Theresa Barnes. She's a registered nurse, founder of Hear Communication, which is a business education company helping businesses connect with the hearing impaired via a hearing-friendly training and certification program. And as I mentioned, she is a registered nurse, former emergency room manager with more than 20 years of experience in healthcare and business. She has also had a hearing loss since birth and understands the challenges of this condition in life and in business. So Teresa, welcome to AFlame Ministry.
Thanks so much, Kathleen. I appreciate being on your show to help spread that word so we can help all of God's people that may have a hearing loss or may be relating to someone who has one.
Right. And, a lot of things in ministry are about hearing the message.
That's right.
And that's really important, isn't it? So we get to hear what that message is. Is it in addition to seeing it sometimes, like on a video screen or in some other way shared visually? But the hearing part of it is really important for most faiths. So there are kind of, as I think about it, two ways in which hearing can be an issue in ministry. And one of them is not as often talked about. And that is where things are too loud. But before we get into that, I would like you to share just briefly your story and your experience of hearing loss and what that has meant to you and where that's led you to where you are now.
Well, as you stated, I have had hearing loss since birth. Nothing was done for me growing up other than one hearing test, and then I didn't get hearing aids in. I didn't get my first set until after I was 22 years old and a registered nurse working in an intensive care unit when another nurse suggested I get them. I heard birds chirping for the first time, frogs croaking, and got a big boost in self-confidence.
Wow.
So I moved from Richmond, Virginia, back to San Diego, where I was born. I ended up marrying a cardiologist. I have two children, and took them and their little friends up to Mammoth to go snow skiing. It was here that I had a potentially life-threatening accident for not hearing a warning shout from behind. And then I thought about several other incidences that happened. So I decided to put on my nurse research hat because I am a former emergency room manager or head nurse. And so I discovered a lot of things. And I discovered that it's a Johns Hopkins medical study that 1 in 5 Americans have hearing loss. And yet this particular topic is not often heard about much. And so that's what we're trying to do, is get hearing awareness out there on multiple platforms so that we can erase the stigma with hearing loss and be more inclusive for people that have it. And on the other side, to help prevent hearing loss in different public venues as much as we can.
And that's where what I started talking about is preventing hearing loss, because I've had the experience, in the last couple of years, being with relatives at a worship service. And before the service started, this was a little bit of a special service. And before the service started, there were musicians playing and singers singing. And the music was great, except the volume of the music. I could have stood half a block away, it felt like, and still heard it. And yet I was in this setting where it was palpable as well as auditory. And I was, thinking about the young children who were there and myself, and I had to shout to be able to be heard by someone sitting right next to me. And likewise, those folks. So tell us a little bit about how that kind of volume impacts hearing.
Well, noise is the number one cause of hearing loss. They do say that it's preventable, but that's if you take proaction yourself. So you can wear different devices that will let sound in and keep noise out. Three examples of those are a product called Eros, a product called Vibes, and a product called Eargasmics, and they're all on the internet. And so they're just earbuds that you put in to only allow 72 decibels in your ears. And
Hmm.
the World Health Organization suggests, so just like playing golf or your temperature gauge, it's better to hear sound at 72 decibels. So that's two easy ways to remember it, because they say between 70 to 75. And so for those young babies that are there,
Yeah.
90% of the of babies in utero have hearing parents. So is that the volume, say, in a church setting or in a congregation or at a synagogue or any sort of ministry event you're at, that the sound is too loud and people are not aware that they're damaging that person's ears? And the same applies for children. So according to OSCA, their standards are above 90 decibels. So for occupational inside work environments, it's 90. But the World Health Organization states that if it's above 85 decibels in any environment, work environment, any environment, for more than 8 hours, then you can insidiously eat away your cochlear hair cells. So a person, I'm sure at the different locations you go to, you have a suggestion box. And if you don't have a suggestion box, you have an email. So I would suggest that everyone contact their local location and let them know that you're concerned about them having their volume too loud. And these are the reasons which you've just heard, because you want people to hear the ministry and we're 65 million Americans. So if you have a ministry that may not have as many participants coming to it, then you want to make it accessible, because it is an ADA law that you do that now.
Wow.
Equal enjoyment and equal access. So
So
that's what I would suggest people do.
yeah, so we're talking, the legal parts of it as well, but most ministries want to be inclusive, and that's part of the message in many communities is being inclusive, and many different ways. And so, when we have a volume too loud, that's going to exclude some people and it's going to damage hearing. So eventually, it's going to change the nature of that ministry for the individuals whose hearing is lost or impaired. And you mentioned the damage to the cochlear ear hair cells, that is evidently what causes hearing loss, is when we lose those fine little tiny hairs in the inside of our ear. Am I correct in that?
Well, there are multiple causes for hearing loss, so it's too short of a time to go through all of them.
Okay.
But those people who have been born with the 22,000 hair cilia in your ears, which your cochlear is the size of a pea, so that's how big it is, okay, or smaller. Then if you blow that particular hair cell out due to the loud noise, then it does not grow back.
Wow.
And many ministries think that they are inclusive by having assisted listening devices or
Mm.
looping devices for those of us that have a hearing loss. And to help keep the noise down, it would also be good to have an app called Ava, or there's another one called Otter, where you can have instant captioning right there on, just like when going to the opera, where if it's in Latin, then you simply have the translation on the side. So wherever they want to put that, or it can go right into somebody's mobile app. And also, I don't see anything wrong with when you're going someplace to anytime I was at a meeting the other day, and for some unknown reason at this 5-star restaurant I was at, they chose to turn up the music. So I asked them to turn it down. And so you may want to let people know about different lawsuits that have happened. And all the ministries are liable for that when they have people come into the door, because they don't have you sign any waiver that you're entering into a health hazard zone. They don't have you sign that. I mean, I've never signed one when I've gone to any location.
Right. And that's something that most ministries wouldn't, that never crossed my mind.
Right.
So the other thing for people to be aware of is that children with autism or on the autism spectrum are often extremely sensitive to noise. And that kind of volume, sometimes in an environment like that, you'll see kids with their hands over their ears, which indicates that it's really too loud. And so to be aware of that, how you talk about these adaptive devices that people can have loaded on their smartphone, or if a congregation has a screen and can put it up on a screen to do the kind of closed captioning
Right.
of it. What other kinds of ministries can you think of that would be good for the hearing impaired?
What kind of ministries? Are you referring to what kind of services the different people can offer to the hearing impaired?
Yeah,
Is that what you're asking me?
what would be helpful? As someone who's
Oh,
hearing
okay.
impaired yourself, what kinds of things would be helpful to the
Well,
hearing?
it would be helpful to have if if someone is requesting American Sign Language, they traditionally sit them on the right side, and they normally have reserved seating in the front row on the right side, and they have the AFL interpreters on the right side. And so that's what they have. And I have been to many services where they provide that service. And then once you get somebody who has a disability like hearing loss, once we find one that is accommodating our needs, then we're loyal. We're a loyal group of people. So for the people that have mild to profound hearing loss, what I think would be a good thing to have is to have a reserved seating in about the second or third row back to wherever the front of the area is. And then, of course, to decrease that noise volume, because as strange as it may sound, we're noise sensitive. So we can't have it too loud. That's another reason why we wouldn't go. And then to have the captioning services. And the reason why we want to be up front is so that we can lip read what the other person is saying, or what, whoever's in the front, what they're saying. And so that's one of the reasons for that. And then to have even Bluetooth or looping devices. And Bluetooth, most hearing aids now have Bluetooth. And so if they have that Bluetooth device around the entire parameter of whatever their space is, then our hearing aids can instantly plug into that. But that's where technology has gotten now,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal. So it instantly goes into our hearing aids for those people who wear them.
Okay, great.
And cochlear implants for sure.
Okay.